私たちには悪魔の血が流れているからね。マーレ人に生まれていれば。
父さん、僕と母さんは名誉マーレ人になったんだ。
ふざけるな。お前らエルディアの悪魔の親子から。俺は英雄になりたかった。誰かに尊敬されたかった。
Reiner Braun represents Attack on Titan's deepest human tragedy. The boy who wanted to be a hero and ended up as the villain in his own eyes, condemned to live with what that actually means. Reiner starts as a painfully ordinary kid. Not talented, not special, just a fatherless Eldian and Marley desperate to be worthy enough for the father who rejected him. His warrior dream isn't about patriotism at first. It's a coping strategy. A way to rewrite a childhood humiliation into a grand narrative where he becomes important and loved. Marley exploits that need perfectly. The warrior system takes insecure children and tells them, if you sacrifice yourself for us, your family gets to live like humans. Reiner buys into this fully, clinging to the role of loyal soldier because the alternative is unbearable, accepting that he's just another hated Eldian with no greater purpose. That's the root of his tragedy. His entire identity is built on an external validation machine designed to chew him up. When Marcel dies saving Reiner from Ymir, it shatters any illusion that Reiner deserved his warrior status on merit. The series explicitly notes that he internalizes Marcel's traits, becoming more assertive, decisive, and big brother-like, because on some level he believes Marcel should have been the warrior, and he should have died. So he fixes this by becoming someone else. That's why his later reliable senpai persona with the 104th feels so convincing. It's not just an act for others, it's an act for himself. His entire social presence is borrowed character. Marcel's courage, Marley's propaganda, and the mask of a dependable comrade, constructed over a core that quietly thinks, I am the mistake that survived. Living inside the walls forces Reiner into a role that directly contradicts his mission. He becomes the emotional backbone of the 104th, pushing Eren onward, supporting Connie, mentoring everyone as the big brother of the group. But every act of kindness stands in direct opposition to the massacres he's already committed and the betrayal he's planning. The key detail is that he doesn't just lie to others, it's that he starts lying to himself. Dissociative coping, you can call it. He splits into Soldier Reiner, a comrade and a protector, and Warrior Reiner, an enemy agent and a Marley dog, to avoid being crushed by guilt. Marco's death is often framed as the breaking point. Reiner actively helps silence Marco, then instantly flips to horror and denial, compartmentalizing the act so hard that his psyche fractures.
おい、なんでマルコが食われてる。
That's why his reveal scene to Eren feels so unsettling. He confesses like it's a casual report because the warrior persona has momentarily taken the wheel, while the soldier self is still attached to these people as friends. The dissonance is so intense it makes him seem almost absurd, until you realize it's the result of a mind that can't reconcile what it's done with what it feels. By the time we're at the Marley arc, the mask has collapsed, and we're left with the raw damage. Reiner wakes from nightmares, lives in a constant loop of flashbacks, and can't even eat with his family without emotionally spiraling. He tells Gabby and the warrior candidates stories about life in the walls, and even there his words betray a kind of wistful, broken affection for the very devils he was trained to hate. At this point, Reiner doesn't believe in Marley, doesn't believe in his own righteousness, and doesn't even fully believe in his right to exist. He contemplates ending himself, literally staring at his rifle and only stopping because he hears the kids. Children walking the same path he did, about to inherit the same hell. His depression doesn't stem from I feel bad for what I did. It's structural. He knows he was manipulated as a child soldier. He accepts that nothing he does can undo the lives lost. He also knows that if he gives up, kids like Gabby inherit all of it anyway. So he keeps moving, not out of hope, but out of obligation. That's one of the bleakest, most realistic portrayals of trauma in the series. Reiner's tragedy comes into sharp focus through his relationships with Eren. Reiner is the first one who genuinely validates Eren's "I'll join the Survey Corps and save humanity" dream during training, treating it as something noble instead of childish, which is a huge part of why Eren looks up to him as a model soldier and older brother figure. That's what makes the basement conversation brutal. The boy who once pushed Eren toward heroism now sits across from a man who has become a global threat. When Eren tells him, "I'm the same as you," it serves as both an accusation and a kind of twisted mercy. It's Eren saying, "You were a mass murderer for a cause you barely understood. Now I've become one too." Reiner is forced to see his younger self in Eren's rage, and then live long enough to watch Eren become the monster that Reiner once was to him. With the warrior candidates, Reiner, broken and hollow, still tries to be the mentor he once pretended to be, but now it comes from a very real, desperate urge to protect them from becoming him. He tells them stories about parody with a weird nostalgic fondness that confuses them, because he's mourning friendships that were real to him even though they were built on lies. With Gabby especially, you see him trying to course correct the propaganda he once believed, gently challenging her black and white worldview without fully dismantling her faith, because she needs something to hold on to, just like he did. When Gabby physically shields Reiner from John's attack, throwing herself in harm's way for him, it's the inverse of every time Reiner tried to be the shield for others, and it visibly destroys him because he knows he doesn't deserve that loyalty. That's where his development peaks. He stops trying to be a hero for Marley and starts, in his own limited way, trying to break the cycle for the next generation. And last but not least, the relationship that was the blueprint for forgiveness in the final act. John admired Reiner during training, genuinely respected his strength and leadership, and even praised him as better than everyone except Mikasa after Reiner survived the female Titan's attack. So when Reiner's identity is revealed, John's hatred is personal. He takes no hesitation trying to kill him, and even yells at Connie and Sasha for crying about it. But the real gut punch comes in the Marley arc, when Reiner confesses his role in Marco's death and delivers Marco's last words to John. John punches him, beats him down, and Gabby has to physically intervene. John refuses to apologize. He agrees to work with Reiner, but the forgiveness is conditional. What's beautiful is how that evolves. After fighting Jaegerists and experiencing his own moral compromise, John starts to understand Reiner in a way he couldn't before. By the final battle, when John saves Reiner from a Titan and tells him, "We're the scouts, we don't know when to quit," he's not just accepting Reiner as an ally. He's welcoming him as one of them, giving him the belonging Reiner has been desperately seeking since childhood. That inclusion, after everything, is what Reiner needed to hear more than any apology could provide. Reiner works on several levels at once, which is why he stands out even in a cast as stacked as AOTs. Apart from Eren, he's by far my favorite written character from the series. His dissociation, guilt, and suicidality track closely with real trauma responses. Identity crisis, survivor's guilt, and the crushing burden of moral injury. He isn't dramatized suffering. He feels like someone who genuinely cannot reconcile who he wanted to be with what he's done. Attack on Titan is obsessed with cycles of hatred, propaganda, and inherited sin. Reiner is the clearest embodiment of that. A victim turned perpetrator who never fully stops being either. Through him, you see how a system can twist someone's very desire to be good into fuel for atrocity. The narrative never fully redeems Reiner. He doesn't atone in some clean, cathartic way. He just keeps going, doing what small good he can while knowing it will never balance the scales. That unresolved tension is more honest and more brutal than any possible redemption arc. On paper, he's contradictory. Loyal soldier versus traitorous infiltrator. Nurturing big brother versus mass murderer. Suicidal wreck versus relentless fighter. But all those contradictions flow from the same wound. A kid who needed to be chosen, then could never unsee the cost of that choice. Instead of feeling random, his contradictions make him feel disturbingly real. At the end of the day, Reiner is the character who proves that in Attack on Titan, villain and victim are often just different angles on the same person. His tragedy isn't just that he did horrible things, it's that he understood them too late to ever escape their weight, and still chose to keep walking. That's why he lingers with you long after the story ends, and why he is by far one of the most complex characters within the show.
俺たちは往生際の悪い調査兵団だからな。
ジャン